Hi guys. Hi. Hello. Hi Joe. Hi Cheryl. Hi everyone. Hi Ryan. Hi Duke. Hi Rob. Hi Veronica. Hi Beatrice. Hi Bea. Hi everyone. So I'm sorry for being late. Ryan, TikTok did not suspend my lives, but what ended up happening is a couple of 3 or 4 weeks ago, I reached out to TikTok being like, hi, I'm constantly reported by bots and like fake accounts and stuff like that. Preface to this, my live wasn't banned then and I had no violations, right? It's just that before that, I did earlier because trolls like quite literally reported my videos for like no reason. Hi Tone Y and hi Praxis, hi Carolyn. And so basically, I did not have any reports at that point. Hi Lauren, I did not have, hi Mars, I did not have any reports when I was like reaching out to them, but I submitted a support request being like, hey, there are constant swarms of like fake accounts on my lives. There are constant swarms of like fake accounts in my comments, like calling me a Yahtzee, like doing all of this crazy stuff. I report them. You do nothing about it. Hi Gap, hi Kareen. I'm like worried that, my live feature is going to be suspended. Do something about it, And I was basically explaining the situation to them. Hi Finland, and being like, do something about it, right? So it wasn't even about a live ban. Today, I received a response to my feedback, and the response to my feedback is this. Mind you, I did not reach out to TikTok because I had a live ban or because I had a violation. I reached out to them to prevent violations because troll activity was incredibly high. So I receive a freaking response from TikTok today, and this is their response. Hi there, thanks for contacting TikTok. We understand how important your account is to you. After further review, your live stream feature will remain temporarily banned until September 18th due to a violation of our minor safety policy. My live wasn't banned. So what do you mean will remain temporarily banned? I did not have a ban. And clearly I'm live right now. And also this is not at all what I was talking about. Also, I quite literally never have minors on my account, nor do I talk about them. So that would be like a ridiculous accusation. Maybe this was like a feedback for someone else and it accidentally got sent to me. And it was like a mistake, but it's a joke. It's a joke. It's like such a joke. So I posted a tweet on Twitter being like, hey, can you please help me blow this up? Because have you lost your mind? Like quite literally, have you lost your mind? This is not even anything that I like reached out about. Like what is happening? Like, this is like the most ridiculous thing I have ever seen. This is not even an email. This is the TikTok feedback form within TikTok. So when it comes back to you, your TikTok gives you a notification that says you've received feedback for your request, and you like press into it, and then you get to like see what they said. Hi Duke. But it's like the most ridiculous thing. That was like literally the most ridiculous thing on the planet. I was just like, are you okay? Are like, have you lost your marbles? It's like some issues with the AI, with the motherboard of your AI, glitch in the matrix. Like, what's going on? But anyways, so this is why I was late. So I am sorry because I was kind of like trying to juggle both going live and doing this. And I thought that I thought that no one was in the chat because I streamed through like a software. And so I accidentally basically went into my previous live that already ended. And so usually when it ends, all the comments get deleted. And I was like, oh, no one's here yet anyway. So I might as well just kind of like, deal with this TikTok thing. And then I was like, oh, wait, this says past live. And so I went in here and all of you were like, where are you? And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. So yeah, so hi everybody. Good to see you. Hi Rusted Bird Brain. That's a very cool handle. I love that. Hi Anna. Hi Mrock. Hi Sky. Hi Tumble Betty. Hi Andy. Thank you Texas Smoke. Good to see you. Let me just go through a round of saying hello to everybody. Hi Heidhein, and hi Lauren, hi Mars, hi Veronica, hi Lucy, hi Mariana. I think I got everybody. Hi Kimmy, hi Melanie. Hi Gentle Artist, hi Callie. I think I got everyone. Okay. Hi everybody on TikTok. Hi everybody on YouTube. Hi everybody on YouTube. Hi everybody on TikTok. Hi everybody on Twitch and Twitter. If you're watching on Twitter, please make sure to like this live because I don't understand how Twitter lives work. Hi, Zorji. Would it be Zorji? Hi, Christy. Good to see you. Would it be Zorji? How do I pronounce your name? That's so interesting. Hi, Pika. Hi, Gorilla Joe. Hrajem Slava. But yeah, yeah, I didn't know Twitter had a live feature until my software was like, hey, do you also want to stream this on Twitter? And I was like, why not? Hi, Anna Katana. And so now I have this on Twitter too. It's very strange because it's not the same as any like live features from other things. It kind of looks like this. I don't think you can comment, or I don't see if people comment. I also can't respond to people, which is strange. Sure, you can ask me a quick question before we get into things. And hi Kay, hi Nomad Cat, and hi Rainbow. You look very smart today, Yulia. Why? Because I'm wearing a pleated skirt. Oh my gosh, Rainbow on TikTok says you look very smart today, Yulia. That's like so funny. Is that because I'm wearing a pleated skirt and I'm like very studious today. I find it kind of funny. Hi, Epic Snowballs. Hi, ciao, come stai? Buona serata. Hi, Lucy, again. So studious, right? But yes, so Gentle Artist wanted to ask a question before we get into things. Also, I don't think everyone is on here on YouTube yet, so I'm happy to answer as many questions as I can before we get into things because I will just give some time for people on Twitch and YouTube to get here, because I think that most of our new viewers are probably are used to me going live at like around 4 or like 3:30. So I think I might as well give it a little bit of time so they get notified, because today is early for most, but not for our regulars, because now I'm back to the normal schedule. Yay! I would love this like clapping music from a sitcom right now, you know? I need sound effects. Pronto. So yes, so Gentle Artist, you were going to ask something. What was it? I would love to get into that. I would love to answer that question. In the meanwhile, you know what? I'm going to start talking about, people in Donbass are also opposed to Russian invaders, right? And the Kremlin's narrative is false. Yes, people in Donbass are opposed to the Russian narrative. I'm actually doing an interview this Friday with Oля. She's a creator on here. She lives in the UK, and she is from Donetsk. And her family had to flee in 2014 because of the invasion. And most people in Donetsk region actually fled their homes, unfortunately, because they did not want to be under Russia. Also, people in Donetsk kind of like, a lot of them had no choice. Like if they didn't have money to relocate, they couldn't relocate. Some of them were disabled and couldn't relocate. Some of them had family that is disabled or is bound to a place and couldn't relocate, so they stayed to take care of family. Some of them also were filtrated. Like people in Donetsk who are Ukrainian and pro-Ukrainian who were left, they were quite literally like put in filtration camps, and their tattoos were I don't know how to say it without making it incredibly gory, but they would be sliced out. Their tattoos would be sliced out if they had like tattoos with Ukrainian symbols on them. And that happens in all of the occupied territories of Ukraine. The people in Donetsk who were pro-Russian were quite literally like separatists who were brought from regions of Russia to pretend to be Ukrainian, and they were implanted there. A lot of some of the people, there is probably like 1% or 2% of the population of Donbass, not Ukraine, Donbass, okay, or like Donetsk itself, like 1 or 2% of Donetsk itself that wanted to be pro-Russian before they understood what pro-Russian meant. So those people were bought off by Russia, and they were paid to spread this like pro-Russian narrative, right? And that's what they did. And then I was actually, before I went live, I was watching an interview. It does not have subtitles, unfortunately, and it is a very long interview, so there would be no way for me to translate it to you. But I was watching an interview with a Ukrainian soldier who is from Novakhovka. This is Kherson Oblast. It's actually a village that was Novakhovka. Because I've been reading so much that I feel like I myself am confusing regions. Let me show you where Novakhovka is. He's from Novakhovka. Yeah, it's Kherson Oblast, and it's right near Kherson. So this is Novakhovka, right? Oh, like this is Novakhovka, and Kherson is over here. So, this is Novakhovka and Kherson is over here. Sorry. And, oh, yay, Anna. That's so awesome. Welcome to the spy lair. Welcome to the spy lair. So he was from Novakhovka, and he was living on the occupied territory when Russians came in because they couldn't flee at first. When Russians came in 2022. And he was saying that basically him and a lot of his relatives and a lot of people from his town were having this issue where they didn't know what to do because they wanted to leave, but say he had a lot of tattoos with Ukrainian symbolism on them. So his background, I'll give you a little bit of his background. He gave an interview wearing a mask so he wouldn't be visible because apparently some of his relatives and some of his friends are still in the occupied territory and they're still in Novakhovka, and he does not want to like, harm them by giving an interview. So he was wearing a mask, and he was wearing, like, you could only see his eyes. And so he is currently a soldier of the Azov regiment in Kyiv. And he was a teacher. He taught geography and something else, I forgot, but he was basically a geography teacher. You could tell he's young. He's like probably late 20s, early 30s. He said he has a daughter. And he was a teacher for middle and high school before the war started, and he was teaching in Novakhovka. And then he was, hi, Robert, thank you so much. And then he basically was in the occupation by Russians in his own city, and he had tattoos with Ukrainian symbolism on them. So like the Ukrainian trident, some of the like older Ukrainian symbols and stuff like that. And so when Russians came in, he was like, well, crap, if I'm going to get out of here, because if you have to get out, you have to go through checkpoints. And in checkpoints, Russians will literally strip you to see if you are like a Yahtzee, right? And Ukrainian symbols make you a Yahtzee for them. If you have like a Ukrainian trident, that's a Yahtzee symbol for them. So he basically somehow he was like, okay, well, I'm forever stuck here. So because I'm not going to be able to leave, they're just going to kill me and my family at the checkpoint. So he was trying to figure out how to form a resistance. And while he was trying to figure out how to form a resistance, he came across his tattoo artist. And he was like, oh my gosh. And so him and his tattoo artist at his apartment, were covering his tattoos. And the tattoo artist basically had one single needle left. So they kept, basically you can't do 3 separate tattoos that you need to cover. And they're big pieces on him too, with one needle, because you have to disinfect it. You have to change needles. And so they basically, in his apartment, covered up his tattoos for something that was less reminiscent of like Ukrainian symbols. And they kept disinfecting that needle with like hydrogen peroxide and like chlorine and stuff like that, basically whatever they had under their hands. And so he got his tattoos covered up, and he was planning on like trying and forming a resistance, but then Russians kept coming and coming and coming, and like they kept looting and they kept assaying and they were doing all of these horrible things. And he was saying that some of the neighbors that he had were women, and they would basically barricade themselves in their basements after like 4 to 5 p.m. because what would end up happening is Russian soldiers would start drinking and they would start looking for women to assault. And so he was like, okay, well, we got to get out of here, and I got to go into the armed forces of Ukraine because I need, like, I want to fight this, and I don't have like ammo, nor do I have like weapons to do so. So him and his family got in the car, and they basically decided to drive through the checkpoint. They were incredibly lucky because the guys who were checking them for like tattoos and for stuff like that day, he said that they were kind of like distracted and they didn't necessarily care for checking anything. They were just like, oh my God, it was like a hot day or something like that, or it was a cold day. I don't remember. Like it was such a long interview, but he was just saying that basically they were sort of like they were very like whatever, right? Which was crazy because that is not the case in most cases. And so they just asked him why he's not in the armed forces of Ukraine and why he's not, like, if he wants to get into the armed forces of Ukraine and why he isn't. And he has a white ticket, which means that he doesn't need to serve, which means that he he's exempt from the military and he's exempt from the draft, even if it's mandatory for health reasons or for whatever other reasons. There is a couple of different types of white tickets. They're impossible to get unless you actually have like a serious reason why. And he was like, oh, I'm not suited for the military. I've never wanted to be in the military. And like, I don't, like I'm just a civilian father. I have like a little kid and I'm just trying to get out of the war zone. And so they basically let them out. And he said that it was the luckiest thing that has happened to him because for most people, it wasn't like that. A lot of people were quite literally shot at the checkpoints. A lot of people were unalived at the checkpoints. A lot of people were captured at checkpoints. A lot of people literally were tortured due to checkpoints. So much stuff happened, and he basically got out. And so he went into the Azov regiment in Kyiv as they got there, and he went and signed up to serve. And he went into training, and that was early March or mid-March. So yeah, it must have been not a hot day, but a cold day or something like that. But so his family is in Kyiv, and he signed up to serve, and he's a member of Azov regiment who decided to take up arms and go fight for Kherson, which is his city, because his settlement was occupied. And he was a geography teacher before this. He's a father. So this is sort of to give you an idea of what kind of people joined the Azov regiment. As in, like, there is so much propaganda narrative about Azov, right? And there is so much like disgusting stuff that's being said about them. And so I'm kind of making it my life mission to sort of tell you historic events that Azov participated in to show you who they really are. And one of those things was the battle for Ilovaisk. One of those things was the battle for Donetsk airport. And I posted these videos recently. One of these stories is this, right? One of these stories is Mariupol. And so with that said, I want to let you know that tomorrow I am conducting the interview with the Azov regiment soldier. I have been speaking to him a little bit behind the scenes. It's the guy who's from Mariupol and who was in Azovstal, who was first defending Mariupol. Then when Mariupol was besieged, he got to Azovstal. Then after he was heavily wounded, then he got exchanged. Then he got basically exchanged in the first POW exchange, and he got into Russian captivity, or he was evacuated out of Azovstal as a heavily wounded person. He was in Russian captivity, and then he was exchanged back onto Ukrainian soil. And so I'm finally, we have established a time for the interview, and we're doing it tomorrow at noon my time. At noon my time. And so I'm going to record that interview. I can't do it as a live because operational security of Ukraine and the command ship of Azov won't let me, because there are a lot of guys who are still in Russian captivity, and they want to make sure that nothing he says or nothing I ask is going to be damaging to them or could result in harming them. So I'm going to have to record the interview, and then I'm going to have to like put the video together, and after that I'm going to send it back. I'm going to have to send it back to them. They're going to have to review it, whether whether there is whether there was anything said that could like harm the guys, and then when they okay it, I'm going to post it. Hi, Kiporisik. Also, gentle artist, Kharkiv and Mariupol were very important arm manufacturers in World War II. Yes, they were. Most of Russian tanks were manufactured by Kharkiv tank plant, and Mariupol as well, parts and stuff like that. But one of the reasons why Mariupol took such a hard hit, and why they made it a mission to quite literally destroy and annihilate and level Mariupol, was because in 2014, when Russians came to seize Donbass, they weren't originally planning on just seizing Donetsk and Luhansk. They wanted the whole Donbass. They wanted Mariupol, they wanted Kherson, they wanted Odessa, they wanted all of these cities. And Mariupol, Odessa, and Kherson showed the most amount of resistance, as in like people there just came out on the streets. They got like, I don't know, Molotov cocktails, whatever they could, and they quite literally didn't let separatists come in and didn't let them make it look like this was a Russian territory all along. And Mariupol was the most, I guess, surprising city for them, because they thought they had it. They thought there would be no issues in Mariupol. They thought that Mariupol was gonna like welcome them with open arms. And so Mariupol showed a lot of resistance and literally wouldn't let them do it. So there is a lot of people speculate that one of the reasons why they hard hit Mariupol, as in they destroyed it, and they tortured the citizens so much, as a revenge for 2014. And it seems highly likely, honestly, because, well, the people just told them to, the people just told them to basically go follow the Russian warship in 2014 and in 2022, and any time and every time they would do it, But that's basically why I believe, and a lot of people in Ukraine believe, and a lot of people in general believe, they were so adamant on being so destructive and so cruel to Mariupol. Were there ever separatists in Ukraine, or where are they just Russian patsies? So here's the thing: there are two types of people that are considered separatists. One type of people is Russian patsies, which is like 95% of the people who are separatists are quite literally Russians, right? Who were implanted into Ukraine to pose as Ukrainians. The other 5%, maybe 5 to 10%, I don't like really know the numbers, but it's like 90 to 10 at the very most, right? Or at the very least, are people who were who had very low salaries and very crap jobs in Donbass, and who weren't making enough money to make ends meet. Russia came in and offered them a boatload of money to go and promote these separatist narratives, and they promised them high postulated jobs in DPR and LPR and in the republics that were going to form, right? And they promised them authority, and they promised them all of this stuff. And so those people went and sold themselves to Russia, and they're treasoners of Ukraine because they sold their motherland for basically like a couple of bucks. And one of the reasons why these republics are so incredibly horribly managed is because most of these people obviously had really crap jobs for a reason. Most of them weren't making any money for a reason. And a lot of them were alcoholics. A lot of them didn't have any like higher education or education in general, as in like they basically approached easy targets, easy to sway targets. So people who were not very educated, people who were not very, people who did not have, I just can't say the word on either one of these platforms, but you understand what I mean. Thank you, gentle artist. Welcome to the spy lair. But, quite literally, I think you understand what I mean. Like they were approaching people who were not very intellectually developed in every area that you can consider intellectually developed, right? Easy targets, people that were easy to stay. Hi, Lorraine. Hi, good to see you. People without critical thinking skills, yes. And also people who are, yes, you are officially a spy. As I said, welcome to the spy lair. But basically people without critical thinking abilities and people without, they were kind of like lowlifes. They approached lowlifes, but I mean that not as in like an insult, but I mean people who were drinking heavily. Hi, Mario. People who didn't have jobs, people who didn't want to have jobs, people who did not want to get jobs, people who didn't want to like have a real job for money, people who just literally wanted money and wanted to like use them to drink vodka. Hi, Jen, and hi, Evie. So yeah, so that was the second like part of Separatists. And then of course there were like, I don't know, 0.01% of the population of people in Donetsk, like maybe like, I don't know, 1,000 people or something like that, maybe less, maybe like 500 people, just a very tiny fraction of people who got influenced by Russian propaganda. Because those separatists were there specifically to do that. It's just that most people didn't buy it. But then there was a tiny little fraction of the population who got influenced by the propaganda and was like, life in Russia is going to be so much better. And now, after they have lived in DPR and LPR under Russia, where they were put in filtration camps, where they don't have any money, where there's no economy, where they're not rebuilding anything. Like they ruined the airport in 2014. They still haven't rebuilt it. It's been 8 years. Like 8.5, you can rebuild an airport in 8.5 years, right? You can build an airport in 8.5 years. Nothing. They haven't like rebuilt anything. They haven't built anything new. They haven't developed anything. So obviously all of these people who bought like the Russian propaganda and who thought that their life is going to be so much better within Russia. Also, please don't block Matthew, because he's asking that, mods. Like he's actually genuinely asking that. He's been in lives a lot. I think he just wants to know. But so basically, yeah. These people now are like, wow, oh my gosh, we were idiots. And a lot of them in the beginning of this invasion, I think like a month or two into this invasion, the people, after they started hearing about what happened in Kherson and Mariupol everywhere, they started messaging their relatives and being like, wow, we're so sorry. We're such idiots. Like we bought the propaganda, you know, like we believed the propaganda, and they're now pro-Ukrainian, but and they're the ones who are partisans, you know. But so yeah, and Luhansk call themselves Soviets. They're perfectly happy to send Caucasus citizens, Yakuts, Tatars. Yeah, they do. Can't see the comments. So also there is Matthew who asked, who is Stepan Bandera? Guys, who blocked him? Oh, okay, no one. Okay, so who's Stepan Bandera? Stepan Bandera is a Ukrainian historical figure who was a military leader. He is very often used in Russian propaganda to appear as a Yahtzee, because he was supposed to be a Ukrainian nationalist who, according to the narrative that Russia created, Stepan Bandera was a Yahtzee, a Ukrainian Yahtzee, who was exterminating Jews, Poles, and stuff like that. Well, in reality, Stepan Bandera was a leader of a national resistance movement called Ukrainian Insurgents Army, and the Organization of Ukrainian Nationalists, because here is what happened. During his lifetime, Ukraine was Привет, Dmitry. During that time, oh, that's a different Matthew. That's just a similar profile picture. No, during that time, Stepan Bandera, during that time, Poland and Russia divided Ukraine into two parts, one that belonged to Russia and one that belonged to Poland. But these lands were populated by Ukrainians. So Ukraine had three problems to deal with. One was the Yahtzee invasion, one was the Bolshevik invasion, and one was the invasion of Polish people. So it's like the army didn't just go trying to like exterminate the Poles. The army was fighting with Armia Krajova. Yes, there were some things about Stepan Bandera that are not necessarily amazing. There is a battalion of the Ukrainian. First of all, everybody always talks about Stepan Bandera as if he himself did all of these things. First of all, he was in a German concentration camp at the time at which most of these like very famous battles happened. One is Volyn, where a lot of Polish people were unalived by the Ukrainian resistance army. And that happened not because Ukrainian resistance army just decided to go and like, you know, take a go at it in Volyn. No, they were liberating the Ukrainian territory of Volyn from Poland, and Armia Krajova did the same stuff on the territory of Ukraine. It's just nobody talks about it. 1. 2, Stepan Bandera was quite literally in a concentration camp in Germany when that happened. Why was he in a concentration camp? Because in an effort to combat the Soviets, he had pretended to collaborate with Germans. And Germans thought that his army joined the Yahtzee movement. But they quite literally took all of the information that the Yahtzees had on Soviet Union and went to destroy the Red Army. And when it came to the assignments that the Yahtzees were giving them for Jews, they completely did not fulfill them, which is one of the reasons why Yahtzees were like, wait, what's happening here? Then they started looking into it and they realized that Bandera actually was not trying to become part of Germany. Bandera was trying to liberate Ukraine. And Yahtzees didn't like it, so they caught him and put him in a concentration camp. So that is the extent of his collaboration with the Yahtzees. He did not necessarily collaborate with them. He tricked them. He tricked them into thinking he was collaborating with them because his main objective was to defeat the Red Army and Armia Krajova, like the Polish army, and the freaking Soviet army. Well, at that point, the Soviet army. So that's basically a brief history on what happened with Stepan Bandera. And I know that was a troll. I thought it was Matthew, who's a regular viewer, and I thought he was just asking that. But then that person is definitely a troll, and I think that you can block them. Yeah, thank you. So I mistook one Matthew for another Matthew because their profile pictures were similar. But yeah, this is whole, like, people really like using Stepan Bandera as like one of the propaganda talking points without actually looking into history, because there is nothing in history that would show him from that way. And in fact, if you read history and if you read what happened to him and if you read why that happened to him, you will know the real history. And then, to be fair, he was assassinated in 1959 while he was in Germany after the fall of the Stashman's regime. After the fall of the Stashman's regime, he went free, and then in 1959 he was assassinated by a KGB agent in Germany. So Russians took him out. Come on. Every time Russians take someone out, it's because they are a problem for them. So yeah, that is that on Stepan Bandera, and I feel like this is the last time I'm willing to answer this topic because it's a little too troll related. I also have a video on it. Okay. I also have a video on it somewhere on the bottom of my profile. Not on the bottom, but like if you scroll down, because it was in the beginning of the invasion that people were asking me a lot about him. Okay, so let me see the news for today that came out, and I will start reading them for you. So unless you guys have please tell me, why would anyone spend so much money to have their car sound so loud that you can't even be inside of it? I might just, maybe I'm not cool enough for school, but it just sounds a little counterproductive to me. Yeah, it's Backstreet Boys. Normally it's some much weirder stuff. Okay, so unless anyone has any questions except for what if Putin starts dropping nuclear bombs, because I don't even think it's a real question. Tell me why. Nothing but Wait, one sec. I really need to grab my glasses cleaner because I don't know where it went yesterday. It used to be like right here near my desk. You can look at Cindy sleeping, but I really need to do that because my glasses are really foggy. Cindy. And I don't really understand because my glasses cleaner was like somewhere over here. So that's really strange. Okay. Well, I'm back. One sec. It's like torture when my glasses are foggy. I don't know. Probably many of you wear glasses because that's not uncanny, I'm sure you can understand. Who blasts Backstreet Boys at that volume? Well, apparently that dude, or not dude, but that person does, well, kudos to them. Anyways, okay, so let me see what's going on. Hi, Norm. Let me see what's going on in the news world today. You are my fire, my one desire. I don't know the rest of it. Anyways, oh my gosh, there is a lot that came out yesterday. Okay. All right. So questions, concerns, suggestions, anything. If you don't have any, then I'm going to go ahead and start with the news. Also, hi, everybody who just joined. Can you recommend a Ukrainian post-rock band? No, but I can ask someone, and you can put it in my Q&A on my channel, and I'll ask a friend of mine who listens to that genre, and maybe they can recommend something to me, but I just off the top of my head, no. But if you put it into my Q&A, I will try my best to find it for you. I'm sure we have like a good Ukrainian post-rock band. I just don't really know any. Okay. At least 1,000 civilians were unalived in Izum due to the actions of the Russian military. Maxim Strelnik, a member of the Izum town council, stated this. But unfortunately, we believe that even more people suffered as they were not provided with necessary medical care in time. The Russian military destroyed all healthcare facilities, all healthcare facilities in Izum back in March. Access to medicine was limited. The Russian invaders looted and plundered all the pharmacies, said Maxim Strelnik. In just 2 weeks, the Ukrainian IT army paralyzed more than 2,400 Russian online resources, including propaganda media such as Rambler, Gazeta.ru, and MK. On September 1st, school children and students received greetings from the president of Ukraine, broadcasted on central Crimean TV channels. Which is a brilliant move, I think, because, well, Привіт, Херсон. The bodies of 4 civilians with signs of torture and gunshot wounds were found in the deoccupied village of Zaliznychne, Kharkiv region. According to residents, all of them had been unalived by Russian soldiers. Santa Claus, it's the 60 Ers, but yes, it would be a resistance kind of thing. But so here's the thing. I was talking about it earlier. I was saying that the more the territories are going to be liberated, the more our excitement and the more our, not fascination, but our excitement quite literally about the liberation of these territories is going to dwindle down. Because an incredible amount of atrocities committed in these places is going to come out. Because if you think about it, the whole world, hi Antique Steve, was disheartened and shocked by Bucha. And Bucha was only occupied for about 40 days. For a little over a month. These territories were occupied for over 6 months. So I would just say, let's brace ourselves. Norm is asking, off topic, late arriver, any concerns that gains won't hold? Not at the moment, because it does seem like we have enough artillery and it does seem like we have enough supplies to hold them over. It does not seem like Russia does not have backup military. Russia does not have backup supplies anymore. Russia does not have supply routes to bring those backup supplies, and Russian military en masse is considering surrendering. There is a lot of phone calls from the Russian military that have been intercepted to their wives, mothers, whatever, where they're quite literally telling them that all of their battalions, entireties of their battalions, are planning on surrendering because they don't have enough supplies. The Russian soldiers can't go to hospitals. They're not allowed to. So if they have shrapnel wounds, I posted an intercepted conversation on my Twitter. If you don't follow me, consider following me. I'm not saying go and do that, but consider following me. I have a Twitter. My Twitter is the same name as my YouTube channel, and I do repost a lot of stuff. I also do post a lot behind the scenes when I'm not live, just like snippets of information, maps, current maps of territorial gains and losses and stuff like that. And so no, there aren't really any worries right now in terms of the gains not holding up, because Kharkiv Oblast at this point has been completely taken over, and that was Russian ammunition hub, and that was Russian railroad logistics hub. The only thing that Russia does right is their railroad logistics. And if they don't have railroads, there is no way for them to deliver supplies. And we have taken away most of their railroad hubs, and the only way they can bring in supplies now is through Crimea, and that is far away from where these hostilities are taking place. And so, no, I don't think that territorial gains are not going to hold up, because right now there is not really a threat to them not holding up. And right now it looks like Russian military is just going to get weaker and weaker and weaker. Anyways, the Ukrainian military entered Svetohorsk in Donbass, the National Guard of Ukraine reported. Zelensky urged Trump to look at the war in Ukraine without rose-colored glasses. The 45th President of the United States of America believes that it is right for Ukraine to recognize Crimea as Russian. Oh, I cannot wait for the swarm and swarm and swarm of people who support Trump telling me that Ukraine should surrender. The Russian military command does not send new units to Ukraine as the volunteers categorically refuse to serve. General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Russians do not trust the high command. The situation is also affected by information about the actual number of unalived and the attitude towards their wounded. In particular, Russian hospitals deliberately simplify diagnoses and the nature of combat injuries. No time is given for rehabilitation to quickly return soldiers to the combat zone. Okay, so there is not a troll, but just a very rude person on YouTube who says, yeah, the guy was wounded and was ordered to hold his ground. Thanks for never getting to the point. First of all, you're going to be heated in 3 seconds. Second of all, I did get to the point before you even got here. So I did say that. So before you're condescending, before you are rude and condescending, maybe think twice. And also, if you don't like listening to me, you don't have to. I'm not holding you hostage. And also, now you're not going to be able to listen to me because I'm going to ask my moderators to block you. Goodbye. We don't need rude people in our community. Since February 24th, the United States supplied Ukraine with 140 artillery systems and 660,000 shells and missiles. In addition, 41,000 man-portable missile systems to combat armored targets, 1.4 thousand man-portable anti-defense systems, 15 helicopters, 38 radars, 10,200 assault rifles and pistols, about 63.8 million rounds of small arms ammunition, 18 patrol boats. Russian servicemen are engaged in mass looting, fleeing the Kharkiv region. After a successful counterattack of the armed forces of Ukraine, the Russians began to flee deep into the temporarily occupied territories or leave for Russia. While fleeing, they plunder everything they can get their hands on: cars, generators, phones, computers. The main director of intelligence of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine reported this. The Russian army is plundering schools. Even the horizontal bars and sports equipment are taken out of gymnasiums. In one of the villages, Russians stole a bus and abandoned it 6 kilometers away. 36 bodies of Russian servicemen were found in it. US President Joe Biden was asked whether the counteroffensive of the Ukrainian military could continue to be successful. Biden gave an approving thumbs up. At the same time, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre added that Ukraine is obviously fighting hard to regain its territories. I don't know how you can support. So Lenny here says, I support Ukraine and Trump. So, I mean, first of all, thank you very much for your support. Second of all, I don't understand how that is happening because that is an oxymoron. Donald Trump prefers Putin. Hi, Danon. Donald Trump has openly said that Putin is a genius. Donald Trump has aided Putin in a lot of his maneuvers. Donald Trump recently said that Ukraine should surrender. Donald Trump said that Crimea is Russian and Ukraine should surrender Crimea. Donald Trump blackmailed Zelensky with withholding delivery of weapons in order to get compromising information on Hunter Biden. How can you? It's an oxymoron. You can't support Ukraine and support Trump at the same time, because if you support Trump, you support everything anti-Ukrainian. Russian planes again flew into the United States air defense zone in Alaska. The American side emphasizes that the Russian planes were in international airspace and did not enter US or Canadian airspace. It is at least the 4th such incident over the past month. So they're trying to use scare tactics. They're trying to get into the Alaska airspace to be like, hey, look at that. Look at that. We're like near your territory. So I think that this is kind of like Russia baiting Alaska and Russia trying to feel out their ground. But I also don't know what they would be doing, because there is absolutely no manpower, absolutely no military equipment. And they don't have, like, see, I keep trying to explain it in a very academic way, but point blank is Russia barely has any military left. And by that, I mean they might have bodies, as in like they might have people, right? But they're absolutely unsuited for combat, because these guys quite literally have not trained a day in their life. I want to show you something very interesting that I posted on my Twitter yesterday. I will read you the whole thread because I think it's kind of funny. Well, I think it's kind of funny. I think it's kind of sad, right? It's like, but I think it's kind of funny. I think it's kind of sad, but the dreams in which I'm dying are the best I've ever had. And I think that's what I think about anytime I say I think it's kind of funny. But so here is a photo that I found yesterday that I think is very telling of the state of the Russian army today. So these are Russian POWs that were captured by the armed forces of Ukraine. On the first glance, there is nothing wrong, right? But here you zoom in, and this guy wore his Adidas kicks into combat. But that isn't even the worst of it. I don't know if you're familiar with what a Russian gopnik is, but these are dress shoes. These are dress shoes. This man went into combat wearing dress shoes. The other one of them is also wearing Adidas shoes. They're just dark colored, so it's harder to see. But here is what I wrote about it on Twitter. I said, the mighty captured Russian army. I dare you, find what's wrong with this picture. My man on the right is really wearing dress shoes to combat. You can take a man out of Russia, but you can't take a gopnik, which is basically a chav. It's like those guys that squat and smoke, right? This is like what you've seen in like tracksuits and dress shoes. But you can't take a gopnik out of a Russian man. So this is your typical chav, Russian chav, your typical gopnik. And he's wearing dress shoes with a tracksuit. So that's where I thought it was like a funny little comparison because, you know, of course. And then I said, I'm honestly surprised they didn't come equipped with Adidas tracksuits. Well, one tried, but evidently could only afford the 3 stripes kicks. Yeah, they were actually soldiers. They were quite literally actual soldiers, right? And this is how they got captured, their POWs. So they were wearing these clothes, Adidas sneakers, and not even like running shoes, right? Like lifestyle Adidas shoes, okay? Like high top Adidas shoes. Okay, into combat. And one of them quite literally was wearing dress shoes. Like something you would wear to a wedding, but just cheap and not well made, but you know. But you get the point. You take a hike in the woods with those shoes and expect them to be clean. Well, to be fair, here's the thing. I wouldn't wear those Adidas sneakers to go hiking, let alone to go into a combat zone, because going hiking, that would be incredibly like that. First of all, they're white. Let's start with that. Who would wear that to a combat zone? White shoes? No. First of all, someone can see you in the dark if you're running because you're wearing white shoes. 1. 2, white is easier to see in the dark than dark colors are. So even if you are not visible, your shoes are. So that is bonkers. Let's say this is like appropriate to begin with. 2, sneakers into combat? When you're being deployed in September, you probably should count on being somewhere for at least 3 months, which means that you are going to be there through like cold weather. Your feet are going to be so frozen, you're not going to be able to walk. And again, Adidas, sneakers, trainers, if you're British, if you're from the UK or if you're from Australia or from New Zealand, trainers into combat? I wouldn't wear that hiking because it has no grip. But you know, it is what it is. Anyways, in the photo, liberated village of Udy, Kharkiv region. Take a look. Those are for the club. If you're from the south, then tennis shoes. My man over here was wearing tennis shoes into combat. And I just love, you know, referring to them as my man because, well, every day, every Ukrainian dreams of waking up not to gunshots or air raids, but to the words victory. And this is, again, a video made by Ukraine Now, so I'm going to play it to you shortly. I just want to upload it full screen on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and upload it full, and I will show it to you here, of course, because that's what we do. So let me just get that done. You guys know I need to figure out how to set up the studio, how to set up a studio professionally, because I would like to be able to have these things like, you know, done so that I could do it faster and so that I wouldn't have to spend time on like kind of setting up the iPad versus the phone versus something else, because it's just like not, you know, it's not the most convenient thing on the planet. Okay, share video file. Okay, one sec. There has to be a better way to do this.
Настане день, і ти розплющиш очі. Можливо, вранці, чи то серед ночі. Не через вибухи або сигнал тривоги. Від пари слів. Вставайте! Перемога! Ти підірвешся і сповзеш по стінці. Ми вільні, живі, ми українці.
So it's a poem. And if you guys want me to read it out to you, because sometimes obviously subtitles are not the best, but I will read it out to you. So the day will come and you will open your eyes, maybe in the morning or in the middle of the night, not because of explosions or air raid sirens, but from a couple of words: wake up, it's victory. You will rush out of bed and slide down the wall. We are free, alive, we're Ukrainians. But see, in Ukraine it rhymes, so it makes a lot more sense, but in English it's just a translation, and I think it's not nearly as powerful as it was in Ukrainian. A resident of Vysokopilya, Kherson region, showed what the Russian military did to her house. Vysokopilya was liberated by the Ukrainian military on September 4th. The Russian military plundered the house, but did not have time to take out the washing machine, leaving it in front of the door. Take a look. Так я ж і це, я ж користуюся OBS. Ну, не OBS, а іншою програмою, але також програмою. Я не за це говорю. Героям слава. Do I understand Ukrainian language? Yes, I do. I also speak it. It's my native language. I was born and raised in Ukraine. Took everything but not the washing machine. Malcolm Nance. What does the first artillery shot of a massive combined arms multi-axis ground offensive look like? Well, according to this Norwegian donated M109 SPG that rolled up next to us, I say it sounds distinctly like, what now? It is.
There you go. What now, bitches? Shit's coming down.
It seems that the Arab community is also beginning to understand the essence of the offensive of the Russian Federation. Accurate illustration by Amjad Razmi on Arab News website. So this says Russia. This is Ukraine. The Air Force of the Armed Forces of Ukraine showed what the combat characteristics of the S-300 look like against enemy caliber and KH-101 cruise missiles. Military personnel of the SHID, Eastern Aviation Command, is working on the video. So this is a lengthy video, so let me actually see. I want to see if it's like appropriate to show on YouTube and TikTok, whether there's anything like, okay, yeah. All right, so I'm going to show it in a second. Just give me a tiny little minute. I'm going to save this video and I'm going to send it to myself as per usual. I also have a dog snoozing here because, you know, Cindy always likes to come over and start being super nice when it's news time. But then when it isn't news time, she's just like, yeah, I don't want to interact with you.
Цель сопровождается. Пуск. Это на контроль. Если произвел пуск, есть захват. Дальше производим поезд. Оно упало, видел?
So yeah, okay. This is what liberated Balaklia looks like today. Trucks with food, medicine have already arrived in town, but there are still problems with water, electricity, and food. So Balaklia is the city that was liberated by the armed forces of Ukraine. Thank you, Notabotter, I know. By the armed forces of Ukraine, and it's one of the bigger cities in the Kharkiv region. It was incredibly strategically important. And Balaklia was that city that everybody was absolutely in awe about, and it was one of the first cities that came out as liberated in the informational realm of like the West and confirmed information, and Balaklia was incredibly important. So here are some photos from Balaklia. Oh. Hi, Lithuania. If you remember, There was a video of Ukrainian soldiers on top of this roof telling our president that they have managed to get Balaklia under Ukrainian control. Oh my god, I'm so sorry, Kat. One of us on YouTube says, I gotta go. There is an active shooter at the high school near my house in Houston. I don't have kids, but I'm sick of this. I'm so sorry. Please keep us informed on what's happening. Hopefully everything is going to, hopefully it's just a mistake, or hopefully it's, it's a false alert or something like that. Let us know how it goes. I'm so sorry for that. That's awful. Well, also Armin on YouTube says, instead of a Z symbol, maybe they should have spray painted G on their vehicles as an abbreviation for gullible. So one of the jokes that's been going around is Z is for zero, and V as a joke is for win. Ukraine, Ukraine will win and we're a zero. But I know that win is a W, but at the same time, it's just, it's like sort of, it's kind of like a play on, Vive will win, that kind of thing. Okay. 30 ammunition depots of the Russian Federation's army have been destroyed over the past week. The map also shows how much territory has been deoccupied in a week. I will show you. But this map is a little outdated because at this point, more of Kherson region over here has been deoccupied, of Kharkiv region over here has been deoccupied. Vysokopilya, Kherson region. This is my family's home. All my life I have lived here. When the village got occupied, the Russians settled in and lived here for all these months. They said, it's not your house anymore. And then they just burned it down, says the girl who lived in the house. It's a 3-minute video, so I'm going to stream it full screen. I think there is going to be a lot of video material today. So if you prefer to see things full screen, then I would suggest that you go over to YouTube, Twitch, or Twitter, because you're going to have a better chance of seeing them from like a better angle. Because unfortunately, I can't stream like full screen on TikTok. I have to adjust my camera to it. But let me see. I'll try to do my best to sort of, no, stay camera. We're not falling like we did yesterday. It's not happening. You're not allowed to. I'm gonna like scream if that happens again. Okay. Standing? Good. Just said. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry, guys. I try, but technical difficulties are my MO. And unfortunately, they're going to keep happening, especially if my camera is not like, oh, there we go. This should be good. Here. And I'm going to do this. And, okay, actually, you know what? I have a better idea. One sec. I've got a better idea. Tell me if this works better for you. It should, yeah. That should be fine. That should. My gosh. Sorry, guys. Oh, oh, yeah. Yes, this, very professional woman on YouTube who shows you very professional things, who can't hold her camera straight. Is a very professional. Okay. Now, hopefully, all of the technical difficulties are behind me. Sorry. That's kind of how I feel, that's kind of how I feel. I don't really have any compassion left for Russian soldiers because they chose to do this. And in my experience, like, I only see them whining because they're currently, like being bombed and, being defeated. And they are now not in superiority. And the worst part of it is that, like, they were absolutely fine. And they didn't see any problem with the Russian command ship. They didn't see any problem with anything when they were occupying cities, when they were doing atrocities, when they were committing all of these like horrible crimes against humanity. That was all acceptable and it was all fine. It's kind of like the same as all of these Russian deputies who are now speaking out against Putin. They weren't speaking out against Putin because of Ukrainian people who were suffering. They weren't speaking out against Putin because of the destruction of Ukrainian cities. They weren't speaking out against Putin because of all of the crimes against humanity. They started speaking out against Putin just when Putin humiliated them on the battlefield and when the Kherson offensive or defensive was a complete failure. And then their whole reasoning is that Putin is horrible for the future of Russia and their citizens. Right. But at the same time, like, no one has once said about the horror that he had inflicted onto Ukraine. So to me, anytime that these Russian soldiers cry on the phone to their mothers, girlfriends, wives, whatever, it's kind of like a little too late. And it's sort of like, a criminal crying that he is feeling awful in jail and the treatment of him is awful after he had like committed a homicide. It's like, well, maybe you should not have committed a homicide, because they were feeling absolutely fine. They weren't criticizing Russian leadership. They weren't talking about stuff that's horrible, while they were able to loot, while they were able to assay, while they were able to torture, while they were able to be superior to Ukrainians, while they were able to like have their way with everyone and anyone and like, basically just commit war crimes. They were okay with that. They're only crying to their wives when they're wounded and when they're not when they can't go to the hospital, right? Because Ukrainians are winning and because Ukrainians are finally showing them that it's our land and we're not going to give up until we get it back, because it is our land, where we were born, where we were raised. It's our home. And it's important to us. And it's our people that you are torturing. And it's our friends. It's our family. It's it's important to us, right? And they were absolutely okay with everything that was going on until they weren't allowed to loot and steal and do all of these like horrible things anymore. So yeah. This note, along with 3 kilograms of dried fruit, was given to the defenders by an 84-year-old man from Zaporizhia. It reads, "Sons, I bow to our holy land and for your hard work, blessings on life and our victory." This was a handwritten note that a man in Zaporizhia region gave to the armed forces of Ukraine who came and liberated his city. The Ukrainian military liberated several dozen settlements in Kharkiv region and reached the border with Russia. And here are the photos from those events. This is Balaklia. It says Balaklia in Ukrainian. I am Ukrainian, born and raised. Героям слава! It's like, I kind of wanted to follow it up. I know that you don't, I know that, Bambi, I know that you don't support Russians and you're not like telling me, to feel bad for them or anything like that. But it's just sort of like one of those things where, in the beginning of the invasion, I felt bad. I felt bad for like about a week, for maybe a week and a half. Because I was like, oh my gosh, those poor Russian soldiers, they were forced to go to Ukraine. They didn't know where they were going. Some of them are not bad. I had some sort of hope, very distant hope, because I knew it wasn't going to happen. But I had hope that Russians were going to stand up. They were going to stand up and they were going to say, no, no more, no more. You are committing these awful, awful crimes on the territory of a country neighboring us. You know, not because they like us. No, just because they're human. What human would be okay with this, you know? And then I started understanding that those soldiers knew where they were going. They knew what they were going to do. Then they started looting. Then they started taking advantage of Ukrainian civilians. And they started doing all of these horrendous things. And I realized, oh my God, that is a lie. That is a script. That is a script that they all learned to say when they get captured. And the more comes out from what they have done, the more I see, the more has happened, the more months pass, the more atrocities surface. I have no compassion to the soldiers that come to Ukraine from Russia to invade our land. Absolutely no compassion. I don't wish them, here's the thing. There is this popular saying, it's called a good Russian is an unalived Russian, right? I don't wish them death. I don't wish them death. I wish to never see them again. I wish to never hear about them again. I wish to never really in my life, after this war is over, have to use the word Russia ever again. I don't care what they do in their country. I don't care what happens to them. I don't care what they're doing. I don't care what they're not doing. I don't care what their intentions are. I don't care what their mindset is. I don't care what they think of me. I don't care what they think of Ukraine, so long as they stay as far away as humanly possible from me, my family, my friends, the citizens of my country, the borders of my country, my culture, and my history. Get away. Just get away. I don't want to hear about you. I don't want to know about you. I just don't ever in my life have to ever hear about Russians. That's it. For me, it's not a good Russian is an unalived Russian. Yeah, I understand why a lot of people say that. I understand why a lot of people believe that, especially people from occupied territories. Oh my gosh, I so understand them. Like, they have absolutely all the reasons to. My God, they have more than all the reasons to. But I have the privilege as a Ukrainian to just want them to never appear in my life. So for me, it's like, so long as you stay away from me, so long as you stop harassing my people abroad, so long as you stop looking down on us, so long as you stop coming to our land, so long as you stop stealing our history, so long as you stop appropriating our culture, so long as you quite literally move the heck away from us, I don't care. A good Russian is a Russian I don't have to see. To me. A good Russian. That's it. But honestly, a good Russian to me is a person who doesn't whine about their situation and how bad life is in Russia and then does absolutely nothing to change it. For me, a good Russian is a person... Oh, привіт, Херсон, дуже ви у Львові. For me, a good Russian is a person who doesn't keep whining about how bad their life is and victimizing themselves while doing nothing to change it. You either talk about how bad things are and you do something, or you just take it the way it is and you don't do anything, but then don't whine about it. So for me, that's that. Russian torture chamber in Balaklia, Kharkiv region, opposite the posters with Ukrainian Yatsism and a chair with a hammer. There were holding cells and screeds and traces of... Well, so I'm going to have to substitute some words with terms that are going to sound childish, but I don't want to give neither TikTok nor YouTube any reason to flag me. So I will reread this again. Russian torture chamber in Balaklia, Kharkiv region. Opposite the posters with Ukrainian Yazism and a chair with a hammer, there were holding cells and screeds and traces of red liquid in another room. Of human red liquid. These are the posters of supposed Ukrainian, you know, far rightness. A chair with a hammer. I wonder what that was used for. Hi, Netlin. Good to see you. The EU will not recognize the elections in the Crimean Peninsula annexed by Russia. On September 11th, elections of governors, deputies of city councils, and municipal bodies were held in Russia. The EU does not recognize the holding of these elections and their results in the Crimean Peninsula. The EU does not recognize the illegal annexation of Crimea by the Russian Federation, which is a violation of international law. Crimea is Ukraine, the statement said. The European Union emphasized that no one elected on the territory of the annexed peninsula has no legitimate. The European Union emphasized that no one elected on the territory of the annexed peninsula has no legitimacy to present the interest of these territories and the population living there. The EU remains committed to its support to the international integrity and sovereignty of Ukraine within its internationally recognized borders and calls on Russia to stop its illegal and unjustified military aggression against Ukraine. In the 6 months since the beginning of the war, Ukrzaliznytsia and Doctors Without Borders medical rail cars have transported 1,800 people. The wagons were first launched in early March with the assistance of the international organization, Doctors Without Borders and the Ministry of Healthcare of Ukraine. As of September 12th, medical trains had made 50 trips primarily from Donbass. The carriages of medical trains are equipped with defibrillators, ultrasound machines, and other modern equipment, as well as full-fledged wards and a full range of necessary medications. Thank you so much, Buoy Eye. Thank you so much, Buoy. Also, I want to kind of go back a step a little bit. So the EU will not recognize the elections in the Crimean Peninsula. So this statement says Crimea is Ukraine, does not recognize the illegal annexation and violation of international law. So before this, EU has only said that they do not recognize Crimea as Russian. They have never officially stated that it was illegal annexation. They have never used a language like that, and they have never said Crimea is Ukraine in an official statement. So this is actually a very big move. And I was saying that, you know, not I was saying, but a lot of people were asking me under my previous videos whether I think that the EU will go back and capitulate to Russia if Russia surrenders and agrees to 1991 borders of Ukraine and basically Ukrainian conditions. I don't think so. Because here's the thing. At this point, the EU is fed up. At this point, the world is fed up. At this point, Russia has proved so unreliable and everything that nobody would want to go back to that. But this is another proof of how ardently the EU is now not taking all of the Russia's BS. Because this is big for the EU to officially state, we are not recognizing the illegitimate election of the elected officials who do not represent the needs of the population on the peninsula, who do not represent the population of the peninsula because they're Ukrainian. This is an illegal annexation, and Crimea is Ukraine. These are very, very, very straightforward, very harsh statements. And that is a big deal. It might not sound like a big deal to you, but politically, that is an incredibly big deal. Politically, that's a very, very, very strong statement. On September 6th through 11th, the armed forces of Ukraine destroyed enemy equipment worth $670 million. much of which was destroyed during a counteroffensive in the Kharkiv region, says Forbes, Ukraine. In 4 days, the Ukrainian military seized 129 pieces of equipment, the value of which is estimated at 104 million. Yeah, the EU, a lot of the EU officials were speaking out against Hungary. So Netland says on TikTok, didn't I see where EU is considering kicking Hungary out? Yes, it was the Latvian and Lithuanian and Czech prime ministers that spoke out against Hungary in the EU and said that Hungary does not comply with the EU policies and that EU is a union of democratic sovereign nations and Hungary is not a democratic state and therefore they should be kicked out of the EU. And there is actually conversation about that. Whether it's going to happen or not, I don't know. But if it would happen, that'd be a historical event and that would change the course of how the EU works. Because once you're a member of the EU, you are forever a member of the EU, and they have never expelled anybody before. But I think that that would serve as a precedent for countries like Italy, who are leaning far right, for countries like France, who were leaning far right this election, right? Or had a danger of having a far right president elected or a far right prime minister. And so I would say that that would serve as a big, big, big precedent to be like, you want to be fascist? You're out. Secretary Anthony Blinken tweeted, the United States is deeply concerned about reports of active hostilities between Armenia and Azerbaijan. We urge an end to military hostilities immediately. There is no military solution to the conflict. That night, a military clash between the countries began on the borders of Armenia and Azerbaijan. There are casualties and fatalities. Azerbaijan claims that Armenia has undertaken large-scale provocations against the Azerbaijani armed forces, which is why the Azerbaijani military personnel is conducting intense fire on Armenian positions. After Armenia accused Azerbaijan of attacking its territory, official Yerevan can turn to its CSTO allies for help. According to the CSTO agreement, an attack on Armenia actually means an attack on Belarus, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Russia, and Tajikistan. The United States called on Azerbaijan and Armenia to immediately cease any hostilities. So it's basically like the Article 5 of NATO. The CSTO is like the union of the CSTO is like the union of between basically like Soviet Union 2.0. And that's what Yanukovych wanted to sign in 2014 instead of accession to the EU, which is why Ukrainians rebelled, because obviously we did not want to be anywhere near Russia or closer to Russia. So Azerbaijan and Armenia have a large history of hostilities in the region of Nagorno-Karabakh. It is basically like over the mountain Karabakh, right? If I were to literally translate it. So there are Armenians living in Nagorno-Karabakh. Technically, Nagorno-Karabakh was recognized as territory of Azerbaijan, but it has been disputed. Я не знаю, Антоха. So technically this territory has been disputed, and it's been disputed for a lot of years. And it's really hard to really tell who is right and who is wrong, because it's a very back and forth conflict. And Armenia is a much weaker state militarily than Azerbaijan. Armenia is a much poorer in terms of economy country than Azerbaijan. Armenia is definitely not an equal opposer to Azerbaijan, right? As in, like, on the battlefield, their forces are not equal at all. If Azerbaijan wanted to, they could consume Armenia, which is a problem because, you know, you can't really get into a military conflict, or you can't really get your territory back or get the territory if you clearly know that you don't have resources to do so, right? So, hi, Mike. So here I'm going to say that Azerbaijan definitely can do things to Armenia that Armenia cannot do back. And Azerbaijan is definitely stronger, which is why a lot of the times Azerbaijan plays the aggressive part. Who started the conflict, how the conflict started is impossible to trace because of how long ago that was and because of how much contradicting evidence that is. So it's hard to tell who should have who, but there are Armenians living in Karabakh for generations, right? And at this point, it does look like Azerbaijan was the one who started fire on that territory. And it does look like this time Azerbaijan attacked Armenia. It also does look like it's really hard to tell each time when it happens who did what, because they just point fingers. So this is a very, very, very intense, very, very lengthy, very, very difficult to navigate conflict. And this is all I'm going to say about it, because again, I don't think I could talk about this conflict from like a perspective of someone who knows a lot about it, because neither am I Azerbaijani nor am I Armenian. This is just what I know from reading a lot about it, mostly from one of my moderators, Theo. Like, I am not very current on this conflict. One of my moderators, Theo, is incredibly current on this conflict, and he sends me a lot of articles, and when I do have time, I read some of them, right? And I skim through a lot of them. But he is very qualified to speak on it. I am not very qualified to speak on it. I was quite qualified to speak on it maybe 3 years ago, because that's when I was still keeping up with it very, 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 very actively. And now I would say that, you know, if you have any questions about the conflict, please tag at Theo Jensen. And I think there is a 2 at the end. Theo, can you show yourself if you're here? Please ask him, because he'll be able to give you very, very detailed explanations, because he is so incredibly knowledgeable on that. And I'm very grateful for him. Yeah. So Theo Jensen 3 right there. This is him. He is he's one of the moderators here, and he is incredibly, incredibly, incredibly well-versed in this conflict, and he can give you all the answers that you need. Because he's probably more well-versed in this conflict than some Azerbaijanis and Armenians are. No offense to anybody from Azerbaijan or Armenia, but Theo reads about this like 24/7. A Russian man beat Ukrainian women in France. French police are investigating the beating of 2 Ukrainian women allegedly by a Russian as they turned on and listened to Ukrainian music. The Ukrainian embassy has taken the case under special control. The incident happened on Sunday evening in the commune of Roquebrune-Cap-Martin. The victims are Alina and her mother Olena from Izum in the Kharkiv region, who left for France on April 19. At the time, Izum was occupied by Russian troops. Doctors diagnosed Olena with a broken nose and Alina with pain in her legs and head. So I would say this is an example of why Russians shouldn't have visas, because what they do, and this is not just like one of a kind situation, is that they harass Ukrainians, they curse at Ukrainians, they verbally abuse Ukrainians, they beat up Ukrainians. And this is not the first time this happened. I also was watching a video yesterday that came up on my FYP on TikTok, and it was a bunch of like young people, maybe in their early 20s, who were Ukrainian. And there was this drunk Russian girl who was literally calling them Yahtzees, who was screaming at them, who was telling them that they should all be blown up on mines and blown up by missiles. And they were like, what are you saying? Why are you saying this? You're quite literally like telling us this. And she's like, nobody likes you. Nobody wants you here. And she was incredibly intoxicated. But this is a very normal thing. And they were like, listen, why are you living in Germany then? Why? It was in Frankfurt. And it's like, why are you living in Germany then? Did you run away from a good life in Russia? And she was like, well, why are you running away? And they're like, from missiles that your country is literally sending onto our houses. And they were from Kherson. So it was like, you know, it was a whole ridiculous situation. And this is a very, 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 very widespread situation. Also, Theo, can you comment on YouTube? So you're also visible on YouTube. So if people on YouTube or Twitch have questions, they can also ask you. Thank you. The front line in the south has advanced by 12 kilometers. The Russian occupiers were ordered to negotiate with the armed forces of Ukraine. Major General of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Dmytro Marchenko, reported this. President Volodymyr Zelensky, since the first days of September until today, the military has already liberated more than 6,000 square kilometers of the territory of Ukraine. In the east and the south, the movement of troops continues. In the photo, fighters who returned from the village of Udy, located near the Russian Federation border, they said it is still dangerous there with loads of mines, grenades, and weapons left behind by the Russian military and abandoned pets roaming around. Zolochiv, Kharkiv region. A photo by Reuters. Well, this is a different one. But also, speaking of, there is a comment that says Luhansk will fall. Guys, you muted someone who said Luhansk will fall, and they meant Luhansk is currently occupied by Russia, so it's going to fall, as in like the Russian forces in Luhansk are gonna fall. Can we please be a little more if you can we guys be a little more diligent in what we're blocking? I know that we are incredibly traumatized by all of the Russian trolls and all of the bots and all of the fake accounts and stuff like that, but could we please not block people who are pro-Ukrainian because they say things like Luhansk or Donetsk? But so they were saying that Luhansk will fall, and to that I wanted to say that Crimea, which is a city on, can you please also tag them so they can come back into the live? So Crimea, a city in Luhansk region, has surrendered completely. Russian forces surrendered completely in Crimea, but Ukrainian forces haven't entered it yet. So that is a first major win in Luhansk region. The extraordinary speed and success of the Ukrainian counteroffensive in the north opens up possibilities few thought about when Russia invaded Ukraine in February. Its army could be crushed or even disbanded, according to Bloomberg. However, the publication claims that a quick defeat of the Russian Federation is still unlikely due to the uncertainty of the situation on the battlefield. Russia still controls about 1/5 of Ukraine's territory, far more than 3,000 square kilometers Ukraine reclaimed this month. 3,000 square kilometers. Yet, there is a little doubt, both Russia and Western military observers, that the latest offensive marks a turning point in Europe's biggest armed conflict since World War II. At the very least, there is doubt about President Vladimir Putin's stated goal of capturing all Ukraine's eastern territories. At the very least, I feel like there is doubt of President Vladimir Putin being able to breathe for much longer. Russian chat shows always had the NATO shill guest, who said relatively sensible things and could then be torn down by the others. But Boris Nadezhdin here speaking some dangerous truth. You wonder he might simply get arrested soon. So this is okay, so it's a 6-minute video. I'm going to stream it on here, and then I'm also going to set it up here. I think it's important because this is a Russian person on Russian TV. A Russian person on Russian TV who is talking about everything quite realistically, as in they're saying everything that's really happening, and they are a Russian TV host. And while I don't give them credit for that, because as you know, a little too little, a little too late, I will also say that, you know, this is to those people who say that in Russia you can't really speak your mind because you are going to be done. This person can. I mean, they might be done, but you know what? They did. So it's like to people saying that Russians can't protest, it's impossible, blah, blah, blah. Please, please, please don't. They do start speaking out when they're humiliated, and they have been humiliated, right? So obviously, it's not as incredible of a thing as, you know, it's been made to seem to be. Okay, so let's do this. I'm going to put this here. I'm going to mirror the video. Okay, good to go. And I'm going to play this on here.
Которые убедили президента Путина, что спецоперация будет эффективной, короткой, по мирному населению бить не будем, только зайдем, Росгвардия, там, кадыровцы все наведут порядок и так далее. Вот эти люди, ну, просто подставили всех нас очень сильно.
Но эти люди есть, вы уверены?
Конечно, есть. Президент же не сам как бы сидел и думал, дай-ка я начну спецоперацию. Кто-то приходил, говорил, что украинцы сдадутся, разбегутся, все в Россию попросят. Кто-то же это ему говорил, в конце концов, да?
Да и на телевидении говорили, Андрей Иванович,
здесь говорили. Мы подошли к черте, за которой надо вот просто понимать простую вещь. Победить Украину теми ресурсами, которые сейчас Россия там пытается воевать, в режиме колониальной войны, да? Контрактники воюют, там, значит, ЧВК и так далее, мобилизации нет.
За
да,
риторикой следите.
Ну, это невозможно абсолютно, потому что российской армии там противостоит вообще сильная армия, которая по полной программе поддерживает сильнейшее в экономическом, технологическом отношении государства Европы, да, в частности.
То есть вы предлагаете мобилизацию провести, военную
вот
мобилизацию, не мобилизацию там сознания или экономики?
Начать переговоры о прекращении войны
понятно,
и перейти к
Вы с Николаем
политическим
Игоревичем это
вопросам.
постоянно. Давайте,
Сергей Михайлович, начать переговоры или действовать так, как вот Богдан Анатольевич
Переговоров
предлагает?
никаких с нацистским режимом Зеленского быть не может. Нацистский режим Зеленского должен быть уничтожен.
При своей надежде он считает, что у нас
Или
сил для этого
мобилизация, или мобилизация,
Борис
война в полный рост. Им надо
Борис
распределить.
Борисович, я напомню, что недавно совсем Владимир Ильич очень правильно сказал, мы еще не начинали.
Ну.
Когда надо будет, начнем.
Ну, так уже вот в точку,
мобилизации
вот надо-
не нужно.
надо
У нас
или
хватает
начать, или
сил.
уже расходиться.
У нас хватает сил, и все решается
Простите,
поэтапно.
а чего
Поэтому
мы ждем? Вот вы говорите, хватает сил. Мы слышим, что все идет по плану. Но неужели кто-то всерьез верит, что 6 месяцев назад план был, чтобы сейчас мы там оставляли Бакалею, контрнаступление отражали в Харьковской области, не смогли взять Харьков.
Здесь было правильно сказано, надо не
Балаклея.
забывать, коллеги.
Захожу я в Бакалею,
мы
нет
воюем
группы, но
сегодня с
есть,
блоком НАТО,
ну,
руками
да.
украинцев, в том числе хорошо подготовленных. И армия там серьезная, и вооружение серьезное, и разведка.
наша-то военная разведка могла предсказать
Поэтому
это.
это процесс непростой, война есть война. И все предсказать и предугадать невозможно, но силы есть, а самое главное, есть политическая воля, и дело будет доведено до конца, до нашей победы.
Война – это очень комплексное понятие. И там есть и политическая, и есть психологическая составляющая. Вот нам за последние несколько дней нанесли очень чувствительный психологический удар. Что касается не товарища Надеждина, то еще раз прошу следить за языком, потому что даже в проброс говорить про колониальные войны недопустимо в нашем случае. Это первое. Второе. Вы политик с таким большим стажем, неужели не можете подняться на одну голову и окинуть весь театр военных действий, а он включает в себя Западную Европу и США? Или вот вы действительно думаете из того, что вы говорите, что мы там протырились через границу и пытаемся отгрызть себе кусочек территории? Идет глобальная война, это ее фрагмент, и именно отсюда надо из этого исходить. Слушайте, для того, чтобы
глобальная война, я надеюсь, не начнется. А вот если она начнется, то соотношение сил будет точно не в нашу пользу.
Она уже
так, на секунду.
Есть две теории, как вот со всем этим можно бороться. Первые говорят, что нужно просто жестче работать на освобожденных территориях, СМЕРШ, выявление каких-то диверсантов и так далее, и так далее. Вторые говорят нам, что этого мало, и нужно на территории, собственно, с которой отправляют этих террористов, территории государства Украины, делать что-то, что отрезвит людей, отправляющих этих террористов. Ваш принцип какой? Первый, второй или
Я
какой-то
думаю,
третий?
что ни первый, ни второй случай не поможет обеспечить в полной степени безопасность. И вот эти акты, эти преступления будут совершаться вне зависимости от того, насколько, так сказать, жестко будет действовать СМЕРШ.
То есть вы хотите сказать, что это с нами навсегда? Вы сейчас говорите, что это не остановить?
На очень долго. Да? На очень долго. Вот он и сейчас есть эксперт, который дословно говорил, что российские военные рискуют погибнуть, зайдя в Одессу, только, значит, от объятий одесситов, влюбленных в русских. Вот значит, это практически дословно. Случилось то, что случилось после 24 февраля. Мы все понимаем прекрасно, что это не так. Что одесситы не хотят обнимать русских военных. И этот же самый эксперт сегодня, вчера, позавчера и завтра на федеральном телеканале говорит, надо идти до конца, надо идти до конца и так далее. Я задаюсь вопросом, если эта экспертиза, этот анализ в первом случае был не просто ошибочен, а, можно сказать, преступно ошибочен, да, катастрофичен. Почему я должен слушать и прислушиваться к мнению этого же эксперта, который сейчас мне говорит, что нужно идти до конца?
Что необходимо еще? Чтобы население на местах, люди на местах поддерживали нас, идеологически поддерживали нас. И для этого на освобожденных, и не только на освобожденных территориях, для этого необходимо с ними, понимаете, рассказывать украинцам, что их не существует как этноса, как народа, что украинского языка не существует, это не может вызвать их симпатию.
Эти обстреливают, а мы должны разговаривать. Вот мне кажется, это какие-то несоизмеримые
кислое с мягким. Надо реалистично подходить к людям, которые там живут, и предлагать, говорить им о том, как выглядит их будущее, да, вместе с Россией. Но кем они будут в России? Кем они будут себя ощущать, себя чувствовать? Если они считают себя украинцами, то сколько бы им ни говорили там Холмогоровы или какие-то еще, понимаете, наши люди, что их не существует, понимаете, говорить человеку, что его нет, отрицать его сам,
так, мы сейчас немножко уходим
и не будет. Вызвать его отторжение.
Мне кажется, что это все надо было делать или раньше, или надо будет делать чуть позже, когда военная фаза закончится. А вот насколько быстро она закончится, это вопрос.
Нам нужно выиграть войну на Украине. Мы должны ликвидировать там нацистский режим, а после этого... Кто еще захочет, пусть приходит, и мы с ними поговорим.
И сколько лет мы будем это делать, Саша?
Сколько надо.
Очень хорошо. Спасибо
сколько надо, столько
Спасибо
будем.
за честный ответ.
Потому что
Спасибо,
это специальная военная операция, которую некоторые, я тоже называю Великой Отечественной.
То есть мои 10-летние дети еще повоевать успеют. Правильно я понимаю?
Okay, so this was, I think, an incredible bit of information that a lot of people needed to see, because it's a very honest take of a Russian commentator who is like, okay, listen, I'm tired of this stuff. I know I'm a propagandist. I know I'm supposed to say things that are propaganda, but I quite literally can't do this anymore because this is just not, this is like, this has gone over absolutely every, oh my gosh, what is going on? Because this is an absolutely, absolutely, like this has gone way too far. And I understand that I'm working for this regime, and I understand that I'm supposed to say whatever it is that I'm supposed to say, but I just can't do this anymore because this is too much, you know? This is not flying by any means, by any definition of it anymore. And so I think that that's a big deal. Again, I don't respect people for this because they only started doing this once, you know, Russia has been humiliated, and once they're like, oh my gosh, so my 10-year-old children are going to have to be at war, right? And they're not doing it because of the right reasons. They're doing it because their economy is crashing and because they are mad. But at the same time, it's like their propaganda is showing cracks now. And that is a big, big, important deal. And hi, Jedediah. Or hi, Jed, sorry. Also, I received a message right now that made me so incredibly happy. And I'm so happy that I was not showing myself on live at that point, because basically, I don't know if you guys follow Malcontent News. He is on Twitter. He posts a lot of updates. It's Malcontent News. He is also on TikTok. He posts a lot of updates, and they have launched a podcast called the Russia. I will tell you what the podcast is called, but it's basically in 2 weeks climbed over to be, what is the name of his podcast? Someone who listens to the podcast, please let me know what the name of the podcast is. It's amazing. I mean, I've listened to it before. I just don't remember. I just clicked on the link, and it's really good. And they give you, like, they're independent journalists who have connections on the front lines, and they give you like verified information. They don't give you any not verified information. It's very factual. It's very like numbers. It's very sort of like, this is the gain, this is the loss, this is what it is. And so the other day, Malcontent on his Twitter posted, so I don't know if you guys have seen my video. The video is titled Yi, the letter Yi. It's an E with 2 dots, and I explain what Yi means. So Yi has been a symbol of Ukrainian resistance for a while now. Right? Because Yi is the only is the letter A that doesn't exist in Russian alphabet, but it does exist in Ukrainian alphabet. Yi is also in the middle of the word Ukraina, which is Ukrainian for Ukraine. And so the other day, Malcontent posted this very sweet tribute, and he said, and he showed a bunch of pictures of the letter Yi in Mariupol. And he said, my dear friend Yulia, look what you inspired in Mariupol. It is appearing across the city as the new symbol of resistance. To which I responded, and I said, Thank you for mentioning me. I did not inspire it, though. It's been popping up all over the occupied territories before me. I just served as an information vessel to popularize it further. And then I received a direct message from him just now, and it says, I don't know if you know this or not, but your video was shared on the Mariupol Resistance channel last week, and ye started appearing everywhere after. That's why I said you inspired it. I don't want to reveal publicly some of the channels we're in order to not compromise them. I am very happy that I wasn't live when I read that because it made me cry. If I could contribute in any way, even in the smallest way possible, to resistance forming in Mariupol and to people standing up for themselves, I think that's I'm just happy that it helped somewhat. And I'm happy to know that, you know, the fact that I do this every day is like bringing bringing something, you know, that it's paying off in some way to people, not to me, but to people. And I'm happy that it's useful. And I'm happy that I'm just happy to be helpful. And I've never been so happy that I made this decision in April to not re-sign a contract with my job and to not look for another job and to do this full time because it's, you know, this is why I do what I do. This is why I do what I do. Okay. I'm not a big crier to begin with, and I for sure as hell I'm not going to be bawling my eyes out on live with about 200 people watching on multiple platforms. So let me just like bring myself back to normal. So thank you, Mariana. Okay. All right. The United States dropped out of the top 10 trading partners of Russia. Trade between the countries decreased by about 65%. In the state of the enemy, the level of the moral and psychological state has significantly decreased. As per usual, my camera is having difficulties because it's overheating. I think it's because my laptop is overheating. So we're gonna have to do it this way. I'm sorry. Okay. In the state of the enemy, the level of the moral and psychological state has significantly decreased, according to the General Staff's report. It also became known that in order to improve the state of combat readiness for the 2nd Separate Motorized Rifle Brigade of the 2nd Army Corps, the brigade command ordered not to pay scholarships to temporarily absent military personnel, in particular, those who are undergoing treatment. Resumption of payment occurs only after the presentation of supporting documents and with the personal permission of the commander. This is how Russia takes care of their own. They don't. Spoiler alert. Ukraine's southern counteroffensive continues to have a significant impact on Russia's morale and military potential in the Kherson region, analysts at the Institute for the Study of War state. In Kherson, a collaborator was blown up in her own apartment. The self-proclaimed rector of Kherson State University, Tatiana Tomilina, is in intensive care. Russian war criminals again shelled Nikopol, Dnipro region with cluster munitions. Local residents were urged to be careful. The state emergency services on site. Russian personnel losses to date amount for 53,300. The Russians in the temporarily occupied territories of the Luhansk region received only 2,400 applications for compensation for housing and property lost as a result of hostilities, according to the head of the regional military administration, Serhiy Haidai. Despite the fact that most of the residential buildings in the villages of Rubizhne, Popasna, Severodonetsk, and Hirske were destroyed, other local residents were found the reason to refuse. The occupiers also have significant problems keeping their promises. The population has been waiting for the payment of pensions for several months, and other payments have not begun, writes Haidai. The first humanitarian cargoes went to the liberated settlements of the Kharkiv region. The first humanitarian cargoes went to the liberated settlements of the region. There is no shortage of food for the population. Our people are already receiving food and hygiene products. These are canned food, condensed milk, water, and other, as such food packages are necessary because in many settlements there is neither gas nor electricity for now, Kirill Timoshenko said. In March, the police of the Kyiv region sheltered the dog Umka, abandoned by owners. Since then, she has lived on the territory of the administration of the Buchansky district and in August brought 7 puppies. The father is also another police dog. The puppies don't have nicknames yet. They are always with their mother, but the police families are ready to take them under their care as soon as they grow up a little. Source Andrei Nebutov, head of the main department of the National Police in the Kyiv region. And this is what the puppies look like. And you know, we do love some of the palate cleansing videos. Hi, Gordon.
Наши захисники маленькие.
And the man said, "These are our little defenders." Okay. Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Poland, and the Czech Republic, Slovakia, Denmark, Belgium, and the Netherlands no longer accept documents for tourist visas from Russians. The Netherlands too, which is a big deal because the Netherlands had no skin in the game, you know, as in like they had not really direct conflicts with Russia or anything like that. So it's incredible that they too have followed and are not allowing Russian visas. It's quite amazing, and I'm very happy that they are joining in and they're not letting Russians apply for tourist visas, because why let Russians apply for tourist visas? And the countries that are not post-Soviet space and post-Soviet satellites are joining in on this. In the Kharkiv region, the armed forces of Ukraine captured a significant number of Russian invaders, according to Die Welt. In general, the armed forces of Ukraine have captured thousands of Russian soldiers in recent days, including high-ranking officers. Russian troops are likely to have abandoned Kiselivka, an operationally important point in the Kherson region, jeopardizing Chernobyevka and Kherson, Institute for the Study of War. Satellite imagery shows that all but 4 of the Russian vehicles have moved away from their previous positions. Which that is also incredibly important because Kherson offensive is up and running, and it is not nearly as fast as the Kharkiv offensive, but it is incredibly important, because they are still doing very, 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 very decisive actions, and they're still the operation is still full force and ongoing, but we're just not hearing as much about it because it's not, you know, Kharkiv is liberated. These settlements are already confirmed, and you know, OPSEC is not compromised here, but here it might be. But the fact that Russians are surrendering their positions shows that AFU is doing something, and doing something very right. The armed forces shot down an Iranian-shaded 136 strike UAV for the first time. The armed forces of Ukraine defeated the elite Russian army, which was trained to defend Moscow and the war with NATO. According to British intelligence, the units of the Russian armed forces that were defeated and fled from the Kharkiv region over the past week belonged to the 1st Guards Tank Army. It was the most prestigious Russian army. The military, which was trained to defend Moscow and launch counterattacks in the event of a war with NATO. So, NATO, you can sleep tight. Russia is not prepared to take you on. I mean, hey. The new package of sanctions against the Russian Federation should include limiting the price of Russian gas. Oh my gosh, my favorite minister, Dmytro Kuleba, is speaking. The biggest topic of the new package of EU sanctions now is the so-called price ceiling. That is, limiting the price of Russian gas. This is also, in fact, a sanction. It is now being discussed. The position was adopted at the G7 level, so this is the biggest story. But there are many things that need to be tightened. They are not loud, they will not get into the headlines, but these sanctions also need to be introduced, Kuleba emphasized. Hi, Dan. Hi, Gap. It's time to prepare for the victory of Ukraine, writes for the Atlantic and American journalist, and Pulitzer Prize winner Anne Applebaum. She believes that the liberation of the territories occupied by the Russian Federation can lead to the overthrow of the regime of Vladimir Putin. When I write that Americans and Europeans need to prepare for a Ukrainian victory, what I mean is this. We should expect a Ukrainian victory in the Ukrainian sense of the word to also end the Putin regime. Applebaum explains and clarifies that this is not a prediction, but a warning. The Ukrainian military liberated Borodishne in the Donetsk region. In the village, the defenders found the bodies of unalived civilians and the decapitated bodies of the Ukrainian defenders. The leader of the Hamas terrorist organization, Ismail Haniyeh, met with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov to discuss the relationship. The embassy of Ukraine in Israel has already responded to this visit. Only a country that unalives thousands of children, women, and men under the pretext that they're liberating their citizens can accept the leader of a terrorist organization of the first rank. The world should not sit back and watch all this madness from the sidelines. On the sidelines, it's time to start acting, not just talking, the embassy said. Oh my gosh. Representatives of Russia, Belarus, and Myanmar were not invited to the funeral of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, Sky News reports citing sources in the British government. Also, the fact that the leader of Hamas terrorist organization and Sergei Lavrov met together only points to the fact that Russia is just about the same. Because who would be meeting on friendly terms with a leader of a terrorist organization to better their relationship? Invaders are preparing another attack on Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Attacks on other NPPs of Ukraine are not excluded, the main intelligence directorate. There is information about some preparations for further provocations and shelling at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear station. That the aggressors' personnel have a plan to stay in shelter during their signals, i.e. power lines, which are now few, which connect the ZNPP with the Ukrainian energy system. Also, guys, I've said that before, please buy yourself potassium iodide. Do not take it preemptively. Do not take it for a prophylactic. On Amazon, they sell potassium iodide 130 milligrams. It's these pills. They are, they look like something you would have bought in Soviet Union. They look extremely outdated, but don't buy supplements. Don't buy some fancy things. Just buy regular potassium iodide pills. And that's something that a person would take in the event of nuclear radiation. So a nuclear power plant blowing up and having radioactive discharge, right? So that will prevent your thyroid from collapsing. But before you take it, even if radiation happens, please call your physician and ask them the dose and stuff and directions for use for you. Because if you have hypothyroidism, hyperthyroidism, Hashimoto, if you're allergic to iodine, you need to know what to do. Amnesty International sends official letters in envelopes that look like this. I made a video about it today. Please take a look if you haven't, but I will talk about it right now as well. The organization seems to think that Ukrainians should embrace the Russians with open arms while the Russian military commits a genocide in Ukraine. This is the envelopes in which Amnesty International has been sending thank yous to their donors. It's a Russian hugging a Ukrainian. So Amnesty is already a shady organization. Let me remind you how they said that Ukrainian military puts civilians in danger by by establishing bases in Ukrainian schools. It's not that, first of all, wrong. There is no confirmation to that. No satellite imagery can confirm that. And when Russians actually were establishing bases and satellite imagery could confirm that, Amnesty said nothing, but also they were saying that Ukrainian military puts civilians in danger, not Russians who put civilians in danger, but that is, I digress. So they sent things in these envelopes, and here's all I have to say to this. Imagine 1941, someone sends you an envelope to support your mission, and that envelope has a Yahtzee swastika on it, and that Yahtzee swastika is hugging a Polish flag. Do you think it's appropriate? Imagine it's 1941, and you're getting an envelope from a humanitarian organization that shows you an image of the stash man hugging a Jewish person. Do you think that's appropriate? Because at this point, this is promoting complacency with a genocide. And this is saying that Ukrainians should just embrace it. That we should just hug it out with the people that are currently committing a genocide on our land. And it's not just Putin, right? Like there are thousands upon thousands upon thousands, hundreds of thousands of Russian soldiers who are doing that. You can't say that it's just one man. It is the country of Russia. It is so inappropriate. So incredibly inappropriate. And at this point, Amnesty International cannot be called a humanitarian organization while also promoting complacency with the genocide. Amnesty International cannot be classified as a nonprofit because they're clearly profiting off of spreading and promoting Russian propaganda. Invaders urgently evacuate families from Crimea and southern Ukraine to Russia. Main Intelligence Directorate. Employees of the Federal Security Service of Russia and the commanders of some military units, secretly from their subordinates, are trying to sell their housing and urgently take their relatives out of Crimea. I like to say the card house is falling. I'm not going to comment a lot on this because let's see where that goes, but rats are fleeing from the sinking ship. The Office of the President of Ukraine presented its vision for a future treaty on security guarantees for Ukraine. Thus, guarantees should be spelled out in a bilateral agreement, which will be combined into a joint document on strategic partnerships called the Kyiv Security Treaty. This document will unite Ukraine with a group of guarantor states, which may include the United States, Great Britain, Canada, Poland, Italy, Germany, France, Austria, and Turkey, as well as the countries of Northern and Baltic, Central, and Eastern Europe. The guarantees, the vision of which was presented today at the Office of the President of Ukraine, are aimed at providing opportunities to deter an armed attack or act of aggression, but they will not replace the North Atlantic Alliance, which Ukraine seeks to join. So this is because of the agreements, because Zelensky said, you know, there was a Budapest Memorandum Agreement, there were Minsk agreements, and you know what? None of those were enough for Russia, and none of those worked. So we're not signing any BS agreements because they are not going to work. And he's like, I'm only going to sign something if it quite literally shows me that I can rely on you if something like this happens. 6,000 square kilometers of liberated territory since the beginning of the counteroffensive, according to British intelligence. Ukraine has liberated 6,000 square kilometers. Ukraine's counteroffensive against the Russian army is just beginning. This was stated by the head of the U.S. State Department, Anthony Blinken, during a press conference in Mexico City. What they did was very methodically planned. First of all, it is the result of the extraordinary courage and resilience of the Ukrainians. The offensive has one clear goal: to return the land seized as a result of Russian aggression. At the same time, Blinken separately emphasized that the offensive was provided with significant U.S. support and the necessary means. American dignitaries discussed the possibility of transferring combat aircraft to Ukraine. According to the publication Financial Times, Washington and its allies are considering the feasibility of providing Kyiv with fighter jets in the medium and long term. See, this is very interesting because now that Ukraine has gained Kharkiv back and showed our full potential, everyone suddenly wants to give us everything we've been asking for the last half a year. But I do understand that from a standpoint of like all of these countries being scared that these modern weapons would get into Russia's hands, and now that Russia is clearly not dominating and Ukraine is kicking its ass, it's much more safe to transfer these things. Despite Russia's critical statement on social media about Russia's war in Ukraine, Kremlin says citizens support Putin and his actions. The armed forces of Ukraine captured thousands of Russian occupiers, including high-ranking officers in the Kharkiv region, according to Die Welt. More than 300 settlements, or 3,800 square kilometers, were liberated within a few days of the counteroffensive of the armed forces of Ukraine in the Kharkiv region alone, Deputy Minister of Defense of Ukraine, Hanna Malar. There is no money in the EU budget for Ukraine for 2023. The real question is how to finance Ukraine in the event that this is very likely that the war continues next year, said Johannes Hahn, European Commissioner for Budget and Administration. That's funny, because the EU had budget to finance a lot of other, situations, and the EU had a budget to finance wars, and EU and the US had that budget, but now suddenly there is no budget in the EU to do that? Interesting. If I wasn't 2 hours and 15 minutes into this stream, I would elaborate on this more, but you know what? I will do that tomorrow on the stream. I will actually mark this for myself as a topic, and that is the EU budget and what EU has and does not have money for, based on research, okay? So let's talk about this tomorrow. Russia has committed more than 40,000 war crimes in Ukraine. Andriy Smirnov, deputy head of the Office of the President of Ukraine. First of all, these are the direct perpetrators, Russian soldiers and officers who assayed, unalived, tortured, and gave criminal orders. Also, Bombi, yes, the U.S. Bombi on YouTube says Congress allocated $100 million to train Ukrainian pilots to fly American planes, like serious planes. Yes, America has actually been. The United States has been helping tremendously, and the United States has allocated a huge amount of budget in order to help Ukraine win this war. And the United States has been training our soldiers. A lot of it is happening behind the scenes, and a lot of it you're not hearing about because it's part of OPSEC. But the US is doing a tremendous job. So this is a video of liberation of cities, which has already become legendary in Ukraine. After all, to a simple question to the soldiers, we still have pancakes left. Do you want some? Reflects all the care and love of Ukrainians for each other. May there be as many such moments of indescribable happiness as tears of joy as possible during the liberation of our land. Let me show you this video. I'm not going to do the full setup. I'm just going to mirror my screen on both here and there because at this point I'm running like so behind my schedule. And I just want to show this to you guys, and I want you to be able to read it. But because I do need to run quite soon, and we have like a couple more updates to go through.
Все добре, все добре. Молодці! Ви коллегу переформували сьогодні. Дякую. Ну, клас. Ви на всяк випадок все посидіть, будь ласка, в підвалі, будь ласка, тому що може бути ще обстріли. Ну ми вже тут, вже все добре. Спасибо, Ні, там вже все. На салаті осталося. Будете? Трішечки пізніше.
So, you know, when Russians show videos of their soldiers coming and liberating Ukrainian territories and how people are happy to see them, they're all incredibly like static, they're stiff, they're not, you know, it's clear acting. These people are crying. They're crying, they're hugging them. They're so incredibly happy. They're so incredibly overjoyed. They're like relieved. You can see relief in their eyes, and they're offering these guys pancakes. They're like, hey boys, do you want pancakes? We have some pancakes left. These are the people who have been living in occupation. So they have had barely any supplies of food. They have barely had water. They have barely had electricity. They had to share in order to be able to eat. And they are offering their last food that they have to these soldiers because they're like, thank you for coming here. The International Monetary Fund has allocated 1.4 billion in additional support to Ukraine, according to Zelensky. Ukrainian soldiers liberating a city removed the poster that stated, "We are one nation with Russia," from the billboard and saw a real symbolic miracle, a portrait of the greatest poet of Ukraine, Taras Shevchenko, and his poem with the most famous phrase, "Keep fighting, you are sure to win." This is a real sign that Ukraine will win because every Ukrainian is ready to fight for their freedom with blood. And this is quite literally incredible, and it is a miracle that, like, it's just like a miracle of fate basically, that was the poster, because Taras Shevchenko is the beacon of Ukrainian resistance and Ukrainian fights for independence. He was a slave enslaved by Russia, and he was bought out of slavery, which was unheard of, and he became a free man. And Taras Shevchenko wrote poems, and all of his poems were like, I will read you his most famous poem that every Ukrainian person knows by heart. That every Ukrainian person knows by heart. But I'm reading it in English translation, so I obviously don't know that by heart, so I'm going to have to read it. So, clarification. When I'm dead, bury me in my beloved Ukraine, my tomb upon a grave mound high amid the spreading plain, so that the fields, the boundless steppes, the Dnieper's plunging shore, my eyes could see, my ears could hear the mighty river roar. When from Ukraine the Dnieper bears into the deep blue sea the blood of foes, then will I leave these hills and fertile fields. I'll leave them all and fly away to the abode of God. And then I'll pray, but till that day I nothing know of God. Oh, bury me and rise ye up and break your heavy chains, and water with the tyrant's blood the freedom you have gained. And in the great new family, the family of free, with softly spoken, kind word, remember also me. And that is him writing about freedom from Russia and freedom from Russian invaders. And that poem was written in 1845. Let me check. Yes, 1845. This man was writing about freedom from Russia in 1845. 1845. Here is the evidence to you for Russian aggression towards Ukraine before 2014 and for hundreds of years. 1845. Oh, bury me, then rise ye up and break your heavy chains, and water with the tyrant's blood the freedom you have gained. And in the great new family, the family of free, with softly spoken, kind word, remember also me. Як умру, то поховайте мене на могилі, серед степу широкого, на вкраїні милі, щоб лани широкополі і Дніпро і кручі, було видно, було чути, як реве ревучий, як понесе з України у Чорне море кров ворожу. От тоді я і лани, і гори, все покину і полину, до самого Бога молитись, а до того я не знаю Бога. Поховайте та вставайте, кайдани порвіте, і вражою злою кров'ю волю окропіте. І мене в сім'ї великій, в сім'ї вольній новій, не забудьте пам'янути над злим тихим словом. I'm a little rusty on that, but this is something I learned in second grade, and this is something that has stayed with me ever since. Поховайте та вставайте, кайдани порвіте, і вражою злою кров'ю волю окропіте. І мене в сім'ї великій, в сім'ї вольній новій. Не забудьте пам'янути незлим тихим словом. Тарас Григорович Шевченко. All right, guys. Now that it's been 2.5 hours, let's see if you guys have any more questions. Let's make it brief, please, because I really do gotta run. There were so many news updates today, and I didn't expect, last time I checked before I went live, there were less news updates. But also, if you guys want to, I will do a live later, and we can do a Q&A about all of the things that we've talked about today. Thank you so much, Natlin. That's so sweet of you. Thank you. But yeah, I can do a Q&A later, and we can discuss everything that we've talked about today, because I don't want to like cut it short for the, for the question section. But I just, I think that I need some rest, because my brain is quite literally melting at this point. And I will be going live later tonight anyway, but normally I just do it on TikTok, but I can do a full-fledged live, and we can do a Q&A. I can also read all the updates from Kyiv Independent. When are you on next? I'm going to be on next tomorrow, and I know that some of the newer crowd, you guys are probably looking for my lives around 4 p.m. Eastern or around 3 p.m. Eastern. Can we get a Yi emote? Yeah, of course. I will design one. So on TikTok, you can subscribe to my lives, and there are like special emotes, but I will design a Yi emote tonight. My mods, can you please remind me tonight at about like 8 p.m. to design a Yi emote? Thank you so much, because my memory sucks. But basically, for those of you who are new here, I know that you are used to me going on at 3-4. That was outside of schedule. Normally, I go on at 2 p.m. Eastern, so that would be 7 p.m. 0 Meridian time, so London time, and 7 p.m. 9. That would be 7 p.m. London and 9 p.m. Kyiv time. So look for me around 2:30. So 7:30 London, 9:30 Kyiv. So around then. Alrighty, guys. I will see you later. Bye.